this video is all about beading and embellishing garments that you already have. I've chosen to do this project on this little bag that I got on Vinted, and the equipment that you're going to need are a small pair of scissors, some thread to match the garment, and a small needle. And then I've collected a bunch of old broken necklaces and jewellery, so to show you what I've got, I try and group them by colour. So I've got red stuff in here, all white like pearly ones, these are all my bluey ones, and then I also have this, which I collected from my mum actually, which is a jar that I used to make like necklaces on from when I was younger. So I've got all of these different pieces that I've basically taken necklaces apart, kept all the beads. So it was necklaces that had like the clasp were broken off, or they were from a junk shop or a car boot, and I basically just use all the beads. So the reason I'm doing this is it's my long-standing belief that literally everything looks better with glitter and beads and sparkle and basically anything shiny on it. So I put my Pinterest inspiration up behind me, and then I'm just going to go through all the bags that I have and lay out the different pieces just so I have an idea of what my end result is going to be. So these are super cute. I'm not really sure what colour scheme I want to go for. I find it easier when everything is like laid out in front of you. I think because I'm quite a visual person, I just want to be able to see all my options. So I've laid out it into like roughly the design that I want. I think I want to do it more dense than this, but I'm going to see how long it's going to take me. And so when I've done this, I'm going to take a photo in this arrangement, because when I start sewing, I basically have to take all of these off and do them one by one. Some of the special ones that I picked out were these little bells, which I thought was so cute. And another one from the Pinterest board, there was some really nice like dangly charms. So I've picked out any of those that I have. So for like this one, so I'll like sew it on in one place, and then it will like have some movement to it once the bag is moving around. One thing to be aware of here is when you're taking all your bracelets and necklaces apart, is just to check that you can fit a needle through the hole in the bead. So I had these really nice little shell ones, which I thought were really cute, but I actually can't find a needle that will go all the way through them. So just be aware of that before you like set your heart on using those in your design. The same with these little pearls. Some of these were too small, so I've had to get rid of those, and just chosen the ones with the bigger holes through them. I'm going to use the same technique for attaching all the different bits and bobs to the bag, and it's going to be very similar to sewing a button. So I'll start off by cutting some thread, which is the same color as the bag, and then threading a needle. I'm going to choose the smallest one I can, just because I know that some of the holes in the beads are quite small. Thread the needle, and I'm going to double up my thread, so if I make both of them the same length. And I'm going to sew, I've actually decided to sew all the way through this bag, partly because there isn't really an extra lining piece, and this like crochet section is separate, and I think that's not going to be strong enough to hold the beads, so I'm going to sew them all the way through both layers. However, if your bag has an obvious lining that you can move out of the way, then you can just sew straight onto the front layer. So I'm going to start off the same way I would a button, by over sewing 3 times, and I want to make sure to keep the double thread, so I want to not pull both of them through, so I'll leave the tail there. So that's 1, that's 2, and then on the third one I'm gonna leave this loop here before putting it all the way through, put my needle through that loop and pull it tight, so I've got a nice knot to start with, and I'm just going to trim those extra tails. And then I'm going to pick up my first bead. And thread it through my needle. And then I'm going to go in and out in that same position. And at this point you can kind of position it at the angle that you would like. So you can either have it upright so the hole is facing outwards, or you can move it around so it's kind of sideways, which is what I want. So I'm gonna go in and out and then through the hole in the bead again. In and out again through the bag. Making sure to just get it in exactly that same position as before. And just repositioning as you go. And then going to do it a third and final time. And then go through once more without going through the bead on the last one. Loop my needle through the thread, pull it tight, and then my first bead is secured. And then I'm going to go through to the back of the bag, move to my next location, and then restart sewing the next bead, starting off in exactly the same way. So that way, if my thread snaps, each of the beads are not all going to come undone because they're not all in one big chain. They're all attached independently. It's quite time consuming, but it just means that your bags are going to be really secure. And I'm going to repeat this with all of my beads. It's done. To say that I am obsessed with this bag is such an understatement. I love it so much. I did as much as I'd laid out in that initial photo, and then I just thought it needs more. So I really went for it. And it was a long project. I probably spent about 12 hours sewing on all the different pieces. And I think I realized that this is actually one of the most mindful kind of projects that I do. I just sat in front of the TV and my hands were busy, but it was really mindless, and I really enjoy just having something to do with my hands while I'm watching or listening to something. And I am just so obsessed with this finish. It has a nice weight to it because there's so much on there. I would love one day to also do the back. I think having the front and back done really elevates any piece. But I'm gonna wait until I've got a bit more energy and time for that. But for now, I just absolutely love this piece. I love the sound that it makes, and the fact that it is so unique. I think I could wear this with any outfit and it would just elevate it so much. And I'll show you some of my favorite beads on there. This is that one little like charm dangly one that I showed you before. And I just love the sound of like when you run your fingers over it. The little bells I think came out really nicely. These like jingle jangle. And I've tried to sort of space out the different colors. So there are these, if you sort of like look at all of these different pink ones, I've tried to sort of like do them equidistant, and these larger red ones are a bit more spread out too. So overall there's kind of an even spacing of colors rather than being like a pink section and a blue section. I've tried to sort of do it uniform all the way along, and I cannot wait to go out and wear this.